Okay, what we're going to look at here, I thought it would kind of prepare you for your lesson on mitosis that's coming up. I thought it would, if you could look at some pictures and maybe hear it before you did the reading, that maybe that would help you a bit. So we're going to just look at a very simple explanation of mitosis and what goes on right before it and what happens during it, and then we'll get into just a little bit more detail a little bit later, but we're going to keep it pretty simplified here. So what you have is you have a cell here, and it actually, here's a chromosome in it, here's a chromosome. The chromosomes are going to replicate, so which they do, and they condense together, the material condenses together such that they become, thicker and you could actually more visible to the eye. So here, now one thing that people do get kind of goofed up on is that this is a chromosome, but this is also a chromosome. This is an unreplicated chromosome. This is a replicated chromosome, but they're both still a chromosome. So this chromosome replicated itself, but we consider it still to be a chromosome. This one did the same thing, so there's another chromosome. Then what they do, you'll notice that the cell itself is starting to elongate here. Okay, it's not the same, kind of round or shape that it originally was. And the chromosomes are starting to the duplicated chromosomes are starting to line up at the middle of the cell. And also you see some spindle fibers that are protruding out here. Now and we'll talk just briefly about it later, but they actually attach onto the chromosomes. And then they're involved in the splitting apart of each of the chromosomes into the two parts that make up that chromosome. So this part goes up here and this part is pulled down here. Same with the blue one. This part is pulled up here and this one down here. Then that cell also continues to pinch off. You can see it's starting to come inward a little bit here. It's going to pinch itself off such that you then end up with the two cells. And these two cells are identical cells to the first one that we started with. Now you might see this happening where maybe in a wound where you have to have skin cells that reproduce or tissue cells underneath that reproduce. This is where mitosis comes into play. So let's go on to the next slide. I like this one a lot because it kind of shows the grand scheme of things all in one picture. Here we have the cell, and there's our nucleus there. Now in this particular nucleus, you'll notice that the chromatin is what we consider the DNA when it's all kind of not condensed together. But it is all condensed together here. It actually has replicated. Each chromosome has replicated here. So then that's where we are. And then they take one of those chromosomes out here so that you can see what it looks like. And so if I pull it all apart here, untwist it, unwind it, I get down here to the DNA that we're used to seeing. Here it is, like the ladder that you twist, a double helix. Here it is twisted here, but you can still see the base pairs that are matched up there. Here is the untwisted part, so you can see the bases quite a bit better. There's the A and the T matching up, and remember the G and the C. There's only 4 bases that make up a DNA molecule, the A, T, G, and C. So you can see those, but if I condensed all this back together here, then it comes up here and makes, both of this. This is going to be one here, and this is going to be one here. Remember, one is the replicated part, and the other part is the original part of the chromosome, but this still makes up what we consider one chromosome, a replicated chromosome. So I love this picture that it shows everything right at one shot in a very simplified manner. Now if we look at the chromosome structure here, this is a replicated chromosome. And you see there's a lot of C words here. Now if you take 1/2 of the replicated chromosome, this might be the original side here, we call that a chromatid. We call that one chromatid and this another chromatid. So if you're talking about chromatids, you know that you're talking about a replicated chromosome. Now those chromatids are held together here by number 2, which is a centromere. Okay, and then the short arm and the long arm are pretty easy to see. This would be of one chromatid. This is the long arm, and there is a short arm, but it shows it very, very well here. So now we're going to go through just briefly the slides that talk about mitosis. So remember here's the mitosis on the like the cell cycle here, when it's just in a resting stage. And then if we come up to it's been noted that we need to replicate. Here's where the mitosis comes in here, the PMAT. I remember it as PMAT here. So previous to PMAT over here is where those chromosomes have actually replicated, have duplicated. The DNA duplicated itself. But once you get into the prophase now, the duplicated material is now going to start condensing down, so you can actually begin to see the chromosomes now. Okay, so they've replicated here, but you just can't tell. It's spread out too much. So it condenses down, and then we can see what looks like those replicated chromosomes there. So in prophase, in the P here, we say that the material condenses down, actually into the chromosomes here. You actually can see a formation of, the spindle fibers are starting to form here. Okay. The nucleolus disappears. That's that one little part that's inside the nucleus, so that disappears completely. Remember, the chromatin, there's another C word, is that DNA before it actually has condensed into a visible form. Okay, so that makes up prophase. So let's go on to the next one. Now metaphase, I like the M because it reminds me of middle. Here is where the chromosomes are going to line up in the middle of the cell here. See, so they are, there's a replicated chromosome, there's a replicated chromosome, replicated. So this particular organism has 4 that have replicated. And so they line up at the middle. You can see those spindle fibers are coming out far enough that they're beginning to attach. Like this one's attached onto there, that one's attached now, and this one's attached onto there. So the chromosomes align in the metaphase plate, M reminding me of middle, where they line up there. Now with the anaphase, the chromatids, remember each of the replicated chromosomes is made up of 2 chromatids. The spindle fibers that have attached are going to pull them apart. So these are the 2 that were together, and look at the spindle fiber. This spindle fiber is pulling this chromatid over this way, and the spindle fiber over here is pulling this chromatid this way. So the chromatids are separating, moving to the opposite poles. Okay, so that's what takes place in anaphase. You might remember A for apart. Here's where they're being pulled apart in the phase anaphase. Now the telophase. Did we talk about anaphase? Yeah, we did talk about anaphase. Okay, so the telophase, now you'll notice that, let's see what's taking place here. The new nuclear envelope is forming here. Okay, so we have that forming. The chromosomes are starting to kind of unfold. They're not going to stay in that condensed form. They're starting to unfold back into what when they're unfolded and not condensed, we call that chromatin, the chromatin stage. So this is going to, the chromosomes are going to unfold back into just being chromatin now. The little nucleoli appear within each of the nucleuses here. And you'll notice that cell is continuing to elongate. It's getting longer. Why do you think it's getting longer? Doesn't look like there's any impinging there, but I think the next stage should show. Now we have to have something take place. This is after what we really consider the prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase. We call this kind of like post-mitosis. Cytokinesis. The 2 cells are going to pinch off now. Pinch the cytoplasm off into 2 separate cells. So then we'll actually end up with 2 cells, 2 identical cells as compared to the very first one that we started with. Now I think this next one is kind of interesting. Here's a onion root tip. And you can see some of the stages of mitosis going on here. What stage would you say this one is here? I see spindle fibers. I don't see anything lined up in the middle. It looks to me like this is where the chromatids are being separated here. So it would be anaphase, looks like to me. Here, now that might be lined up at the middle there. It looks like the chromosomes are aligned there at the middle. So what stage would that cell be in? If they're lined up at the middle, that would be metaphase, middle. So, it's kind of interesting to see in real life what, what some of the cells look like. Some of the others haven't even begun to replicate. Oh, here, this one looks like it's in some stage of replication. Hard to tell what. This is one cell. It looks like what? It doesn't look like it's pulling apart yet. So those spindle fibers could be forming with the chromosomes still being lined up in the middle there. Kind of hard to tell, but at least you get an idea for real cells that you can actually see some of the processes going on here. Okay. So I hope that helps a lot, and I hope that helps with your reading as you start reading your lesson on mitosis. And if you have any problem, you get stuck in any regard, just let me know and we can look at this one-to-one if you'd like. So thanks for watching. Bye-bye.